One day I'm gonna be everything I wanna be. I don't let it get the most of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be everything I'm gonna be. My future right in front of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be free. Then let me be free.
From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges. A host with a fire burning in his soul. With a heart of steel and a spirit unbroken. He rides on two wheels ready to claim his throne. Amidst the chaos and the thunderous roar, insane wheels rise as a force to be reckoned with. Fueled by the power that only metal can bestow. He takes his stand, refusing to submit. Insane wheels hear his battle cry. A metal mayhem that will never die. With engines roaring, he paves his way. A legend in the making, day by day.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Shout out to everyone, man, and good morning to everybody. Let's get it. Man, I was moving a little too fast this morning, and I totally forgot to do the back end of like the tags of like what the show is. I hate when I do some stupid shit like that. But anyways, we got the Hormuz escalates as well as Trump's Iran talks. We're going to be discussing that as well as we've got 25 states are suing right now, and we're going to talk about exactly what that means. But first, chronologically, let's go ahead and talk about what we're going to be presenting this morning. This morning, we're going to be looking at, right after we got off the show yesterday, there was this SWAT update on a deadly stabbing in Washington. It's been something that we've been kind of watching on this whole Washington thing. There's been a lot of activity in Washington lately, actually. And then we got Washington, speaking of the devil, wildfires force 60,000 to evacuate, which, yes, we knew that yesterday. I would like a better update than this, but it looks like this is the only one that we've got for right now. Then we have Blanche clears hurdle as Cornyn Tillis back Attorney General confirmation. So this coming out at 21 hours ago. The two Republican senators holding out on advancing Todd Blanche's nomination for Attorney General appear ready to move it forward through a Senate panel vote. So that's basically what we're going to be discussing on that. Then over there in Florida, we have Uber driver pulls a gun and fatally shot by deputies, Florida sheriff says. And then we have ethics panel urges censure of Representative Edwards amid sexual allegations. Now, I'm not really sure what they mean by this ethic panel is going to like urge censorship. Like what kind of censorship are you trying to urge? I just don't get that. Anyways, let's get down to the 25 states sue Trump administration, and guess what they're suing over? Of course, you guessed it, tariffs. Absolutely. Then we have breaking. This was happening 12 hours ago. This was about 10. I think it was about anywhere from 8 to 10 p.m. last night. And the reason why I remember that is because I saw the breaking news happen last night. It says another ship attacked in the Strait of Hormuz. It says another cargo ship was attacked in the Strait of Hormuz on Monday, according to Fox News reporter Lucas Tomlinson. Now, of course, it's not just him. There's many reports on this, but because we're going from live now. Since the ship was reportedly hit by an unknown projectile, the latest attack comes after President Trump said current peace negotiations are Iran's, quote, last chance. The United Kingdom Maritime Trade Operations, UKMTO, said it received a report of an incident northeast of Al-Qasab, Oman. A cargo vessel has broadcasted on VHF 16, channel 16, that they have been hit by an unknown projectile, according to UKMTO. Then it says more information. This is like a little update here. So maybe they didn't have this originally, so I might as well read it now. It says more info. Iranian officials have denied participating in direct talks with the United States. Saying Monday that they are negotiating with mediators in Oman. President Donald Trump claims that a deal to reopen the Strait of Hormuz and denuclearize Tehran is, quote, imminent. Well, of course, it's been imminent since we started this war, or been involved in it at least. War Secretary Pete Hegseth confirmed that the United States was poised to carry out massive attacks against Iran Saturday night before Trump called off those strikes. Now, we already talked about that yesterday. If you guys are interested on why we halted those strikes, we covered all of that yesterday. Then we have something weird I saw happen here. Now, I really don't know what this is. They call it cyclospora outbreak. So it's an outbreak of some sort. First deaths are confirmed, and it says Michigan cases top 11,000 or 11K. Not really sure what they mean by this. So let me read what this means, or what this is. Michigan reported the first 2 U.S. deaths linked to the ongoing cyclosporia outbreak, with both victims having underlying health conditions, according to state officials. The number of reported cases continue to climb, surpassing 11,000 as health officials monitor the spread. And then they give another update, a little updated section here. It says health officials released several recommendations to reduce the possibility of being exposed to the illness. And it says for lettuce and salad greens, purchase whole heads. Buy whole. So that's what this whole thing. It's about this lettuce thing. Buy whole heads of lettuce rather than pre-washed bagged lettuce or pre-mixed salad kits. Discard outer layers before preparation. Throw away the outer 2 or 3 layers of the leaves. And then it says wash inner leaves. Thoroughly wash the remaining inner leaves under clean running water. Prioritize cooking it for any greens that can be cooked. Okay, blah, blah, blah. So very interesting that this is still a fucking deal. And then, of course, we have an update from officials over there in Washington. Washington wildfire update. Police confirm arrest in connection to possible arson as well. Holy shit. It's just nonstop over there in Washington right now. It's just chaos. And then vessel struck in the Strait of Hormuz as Iran demands control before talks with the United States. So that's what we're going to be discussing this morning. I know that was a little lengthy. I'm sorry. There's a lot going on. So let's go ahead and do our call to actions, and then we'll hop right into it. Make sure you guys hit that like button, double tap that screen if you're on the vertical side. I very much appreciate it, and it's free to do so. You know what else is free? Is hitting that subscribe button. This is what we do Monday through Friday, and then, of course, we have members only on Saturday morning, where we don't even discuss any of this shit. And speaking of members, please consider becoming a member, starting only at $4.99 a month, making sure we're not breaking the bank out there with anybody. But check it out. This is what allows us to be on these airwaves, as well as have these lights on. So thank you guys for becoming members and staying members. Little side note here, follow my Instagram at BallValveTV, where I post everything behind the scenes of not only my life, but as well as the show, Millennial Food Time, breaking news, as well as politics, all that great shit. It's a great way to get a hold of me one-on-one. And we of course, have a Discord server down below. Make sure you guys go in the video description down below of any live video, and there will be the invite link, where I also break live news as well over there, minute by minute. And then, of course, last but not least, all super chats, super stickers, gifted memberships, and membership signups are, of course, all going to be presented live and shouted out onto the show. But if you guys like to skip that YouTube 30% brutal cut that they take from your hard-earned cash, we have these platforms that are scrolling around the screen at any time. You can donate to those, where I get 100% of the proceeds. And, of course, we'll read out loud anything that come our way, just like a normal super chat. All right, good morning to everybody, man. I feel bad because I totally messed up on the back end of the show, and so unfortunately, it's not going to super push out this episode. But that's my fault, and maybe I can try to update it while I'm presenting the very first episode, or the first story. But real quick, we got Motobomb Virginia in the chat. By the way, good morning, and thank you for hanging out with us and rating us. As always, the coffee crew is legendary. Appreciate you guys. We got Prez as well. Good morning to you. We got Naomi in the building. Shout out to you. We got Mr. Bill Castle over there over there in the state of Washington. Hopefully you're doing all right over there, man. We got Vanguard Critters as well, and Virginia Chaos. Appreciate you guys. We got Easy Frank as well. Charlie Rose, yes, and America Uncensored. Thank you guys for hanging out with us, man. We got Quick Shoe as well. Running our way down as fast as humanly possible. We got Barbie. Great to see you in the chat, by the way. Good morning. We got Steve Posey. Yes, sir. And yeah, and honestly, Steve Posey, it's probably because I didn't set it up totally the correct way. You know, sometimes I run a little too fast, and that shit does happen. This is the explosive diarrhea issue. Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. I didn't even know that was the word for it. You know what I mean? Let's see here. We're going down. We got KP. Good morning to you. And Bill Castle knows the deal. It's time for a coffee and a joint. That's a fact. And, you know, Fabian always taking shits, just like I think anybody that's going to drink a lot of alcohol is going to take lots of shits. We got Barbie as well coming in with the 23 months saying, join us for members only fuckery on Saturdays. It's a blast. That's a fact, Jack. Thank you for that, Barbie. And 23 months. Wow, you're almost at 2 full years of members. That's awesome. Thank you very much for that. It means a lot to me. All right, let's go ahead and get pretty much right into it, and I'll see if I can fix the back end of the show. But let's go ahead and do this. We're going to be talking about SWAT updated or update on deadly stabbing in Washington.
I want to get you to some breaking news that we are following, coming in with the help of our Fox 13 Seattle team. Take a look at this post here from Fox 13 Seattle as they say a SWAT team has surrounded a home near Bonnie Lake, Washington today as authorities investigate a fatal stabbing. Right now, it looks like police are speaking with members of the media. I want to lift up the audio and listen in to this conversation where they're providing just a little bit more information about what happened.
Scene right now, we have a heavy presence of SWAT. At 2:21 a.m. this morning, we received a phone call from this residence stating that a male had been stabbed multiple times. When our deputies arrived, there was one male suffering from stab wounds in the front yard. We were able to get fire here and get him transported to a local hospital where we were notified that he passed on the way to the hospital. This has then escalated into a barricaded suspect who is inside the home behind us, and this has been going on for a few hours now with him being barricaded inside. The most recent update is that he has made threats, that he has explosives, so we are trying to allow some space and to determine if in fact he has anything inside that home that could be dangerous from the surrounding area around us. What we know is that the victim was living on the property in another living space, and that the suspect came out of the home where he was living. He also lived with his parents that were inside the home, and he came out of the home with a knife and had an altercation about the living situation.
What's up, Fidel? Good morning to you, by the way, and thank you. Yes, make sure you guys hit that like button. Double tap that screen if you're on the vertical side, by the way.
With this other man that was on the property, and that's how this kind of all unfolded.
Can you tell us who called 911?
Right now we have the girlfriend of the victim had called 911 stating that her boyfriend had been stabbed multiple times.
Okay, and so that is the only victim?
Holy shit, my man baked Bisquick in the building, by the way, dropping 100 joules. Thank you for that, my man. It goes a long way. Hell yeah, let's get it. Good morning.
Today?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. What extent will the SWAT
Good morning, Miss Lotus.
team go to get this man out of the house this morning?
We will go to every extent to get him out safely. We do believe there is a mental component involved with this as well. Currently, our SWAT negotiators are working with him. Not a lot is making sense right now with what's being communicated to us, so we're trying to handle it as delicately as possible without anybody else getting hurt. We do have some recent threats that he made that he may have explosives. We're trying to figure out if, in fact,
this motherfucker out here stabbing motherfuckers and he's got explosives on him. Like, what is he carrying around? Some C4s or something? What's going on?
He has access to explosives, or if that's just a false allegation at this time.
Right.
So there's a
rumor.
lot of unknown factors right now. But our ultimate goal is to use as much tactical skills as we can to hopefully peacefully talk him into coming into custody. But we do know that he is not safe for himself or the community.
So this is in Pierce County, Washington, by the way.
Right now.
And have you had calls on this man before?
Not that I'm aware of. However, I have spoken with some of our patrol in the area that, I mean, they have been called out to this home in the past.
What was I just going to ask you? We heard them over the megaphone kind of all morning trying to coax him out of the house. We've seen them.
This is one of the last questions I'll take. I mean, it's short anyways, but we got a lot to get through, as you guys heard at the top of the hour. So
break the windows to send a drone in there, and now it's been very quiet. Were they able to make contact with him?
Oh shit,
we have been able to have contact with him, like I had mentioned before. None of it is really making sense right now, so we do believe that.
What's up, brother Dean, over there on the West Coast? Appreciate you, my man.
There's
Good morning.
a mental health component to this. We have sent a drone in. We've also sent in chemical agents in hopes that it will become uncomfortable and he'll come out peacefully himself. But as of right now, those have not worked, and he does remain barricaded inside the home.
I'm sure there's
Yeah.
people
So-
around here who are waking up.
So now it's just one of those barricade moments where it's a standoff, you know, until they get the proper personnel or whatever, and negotiators or whatever the case is. All right, let's get into Washington again. We have a little bit of an update here. It's actually a very short update. But yesterday we presented this story about the massive wildfire actually there's multiples. I think there's 3 or 4 total like major fires that are going on up there. So this is a very sad, this is over by Spokane, Washington, and stuff like that. And I think it's 60,000 total people were forced to evacuate. And then, of course, there were 700 plus buildings as of yesterday that were shown that, you know, their structures were burned down. So I'm not sure what the updated numbers are because this is also from yesterday, this part right here. But it's the latest update on it. So what I'll do is I'll look up the current numbers on it I'll research it right this second.
Big story that we continue to follow is coming in out of the area of Spokane, Washington. That is where we know that thousands upon thousands of structures have been destroyed and tens of thousands of people have been evacuated as those wildfires continue to burn. Right now, I want to bring in Sean Chitness. He is over at the scene where several areas are destroyed. He's with our Fox 13 Seattle team. And Sean, I can see a lot of damage there behind you.
Josh, that's right. Good morning. So we came here last night from Seattle. It's about a 5-hour drive working our way east through the Cascades along I-90. And even when we were maybe an hour or so outside of Spokane, working our way toward the city, we could start to see the haze. We could even smell the smoke. It was coming into the car. That gives you the sense of.
Okay, so this is what it says right here. And I'm literally going to bring it on over. Because what I asked is, what is the current numbers of the wildfire destruction in the state of Washington, right? And it says, as of this morning, the destruction from major wildfires in Washington state centered around the Spokane area is still being assessed, but officials are reporting 700 plus structures destroyed, which are homes, businesses, outbuildings. That could be like barns or whatever. Officials have emphasized this number is expected to increase as crews reach more dangerous or damaged areas. Now, that number, though, you just heard them say thousands and thousands of structures destroyed. But the official reports are 700 plus, right? Now, this number is probably just being repeated from yesterday, but this is the most updated. That's coming out from ABC News, by the way. And it says approximately 64,000 to 67,000 people have been evacuated from threatened areas. And that's, of course, Reuters putting it out. More than 8,000 acres burned in the 3 largest Spokane area fires, Reuters putting out as well. And over 1,100 firefighters are currently assigned with additional crews arriving. And then the containment. The major fire remains largely uncontained. And officials expect the damage count to rise as assessment teams gain access to more neighborhoods. Damn, man, this is fucking terrible. All right, let's go ahead and bring it back over into this. Here we go.
The impact these 3 different fires are having north of Spokane. We want to show you what is happening in one particular neighborhood. This is in the northwest corner of the city, and you can see the impact of the fire going well into the distance here. There's what's left of a fence for this home, this property, and then we see parts of the.
That's them. They lost connection.
So we
there
are closest to what is being called the Old Trails.
What's up, Brother Slim, by the way? Good morning.
That is actually southwest of where we are, but we're not too far from another fire, the Autumn Lane fire that grew overnight. And so that gives you a sense of the
Mr. Jack Talcott as well. Sorry for pausing, everybody. I just got to recognize legends in
danger
here,
that is there for folks in this part of the city. So here you see one home destroyed by this fire, one of many on this lot or in this part of the neighborhood. And in the distance, you can probably make out the homes that were spared. You can even see the retardant that fell on the roofs, the windows, and even the fence. Now, in one case, we can see the fence melted, but thankfully, at least that home is okay. This whole area is a level 3 go now evacuation. So folks have been told to leave. And
well, this is why I brought this up, because this is the latest from Live Now regards to this fire and coverage like this. I'm sure we're going to get more today But as of this morning, this is the latest from Live Now.
Those that
And
are
this was
monitoring
yesterday.
the roads are trying to keep people away, even after folks have been able to come through and put out the fires here. And we see some of the homes on the other side of the street behind me here that for now are okay and are also covered with that retardant. But again, for now, they are being told not to come back to this area, to stay away, allow that evacuation to be in place. We don't have a word yet on when they'll be able to lift that. The governor of Washington, Bob Ferguson, has made his way here to Spokane. He will be speaking in about an hour or two, actually maybe about 2 hours from now. And that's where we hope to learn a little bit more about how the response is going, because these fires have grown over the weekend. And we know hundreds of homes have been destroyed and tens of thousands of people have had to evacuate. Josh?
And Sean, I wanted to ask you before I let you go here, because you mentioned the evacuations and that it's unclear when people can return home. But
Oh, of course, it's very unclear. What the fuck?
are you seeing any folks who appear to have remained in those areas, or is everyone pretty much gone?
As people are driving back and forth on the street.
Yeah, it's an important question, because where we are, it does feel like an empty neighborhood, as if everyone has left. But we have seen some cars come and go, and that's where you have to, walk that line of where you're asked not to return, and you shouldn't be in this area. But authorities are not, at least in this particular neighborhood.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's a difficult situation when, wildfires or any type of tragic, I mean, whether it be hurricanes, whatever the case is. People are like, no, man, like, I understand that we're supposed to be evacuated, but I can't leave my house to burn by itself. I got to try every bit I possibly can to prevent it from hitting the shit that I own. You know what I mean? But yeah, I feel terrible. I mean, this is just, total tragedy. All right, we have to move on. Unfortunately, though, we do have a lot to get through this morning. We do have Blanche clears hurdle as Cornyn and Tillis back Attorney General confirmation. So two different senators are now wanting to go through with a Senate panel vote for Cornyn. So let's go ahead and bring this up, or for Blanche, Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
As we continue to follow breaking news coming into the newsroom, and this is all related to the confirmation process for Todd Blanche, who is hoping to become the official Attorney General, currently, of course, acting in that acting role. Right now, popping this up on your screen, this is a live look over the Capitol at this hour as the two Republican senators who have been holding out on a...
Yeah, it kind of looked like that's what was in the background there a little bit.
Advancing
Steve
Blanche's
Posey.
nomination for AG appear ready to
What's up, Chasing Ghost? Good morning.
move it forward. Outgoing Senators John Cornyn and Tom Tillis have held up that Senate panel vote that would send Todd Blanche's nomination to a full Senate vote. But after Blanche issued an order to terminate President Trump's anti-weaponization fund last night, the two senators have just now issued a statement. And I want to pull up the statement that actually came in a short time ago from Senator Tom Tillis, of course, one of the holdouts there, saying, from the outset, Senator John Cornyn and I were clear that we needed a written document addressing our concerns on the IRS audit agreement and the anti-weaponization fund that included constraining the scope of audit protection by limiting it to the parties of the settlement agreement and legally ending the anti-weaponization fund. We are pleased that the Department of Justice has issued a formal order terminating the anti-weaponization fund. Additionally, the department has acknowledged in a binding written order that the audit settlement is limited to the plaintiffs and the scope does not extend beyond the defendants in the lawsuit, the IRS and the Treasury, addressing concerns that multiple of our Republican colleagues share. We want to express our gratitude to Mr. Blanche and his staff for working with us on this, and we look forward to voting to advance his nomination out of the Senate Judiciary Committee soon. As of right now, a meeting to advance it is set for tomorrow, 9 a.m.
So that would be today.
Eastern time. So, of course, we will see exactly how that plays out. But as this has all been ongoing this weekend, President Trump threatened to revive that $1.8 billion fund if outgoing Republican Senators Cornyn and Tillis did not vote to advance
What's up, brother? So loud. Shout out to my man.
Blanche in that nomination. The fund was created to
So he's kind of using that whole anti-weaponization thing as like a threat. Like, if you don't do this, then we're going to go through with this, when I just said that we're not going to do it.
compensate those who Trump says were unfairly prosecuted by the Biden administration due to politics, including those charged in connection with the January 6th
What's up, No Grow? Good
breach
morning.
of the Capitol to protest President Trump's 2020 election loss. The Senate Judiciary Committee, as I mentioned, has set a vote for tomorrow morning on whether to advance Blanche's nomination to a full Senate vote for confirmation. Senators Cornyn and Tillis had held up the vote over Blanche's nomination, demanding that written confirmation that the fund was officially dead, something Blanche promised during a hearing in June. And as I mentioned, Blanche wrote last night on social media, quote, "My team and I have met with committee members and senators over the past several weeks and addressed any concerns or outstanding questions. We have
So this is from Todd Blanche here.
enjoyed good faith discussions and as a result, issue the following order and update with regard to the May IRS settlement. The department always welcomes and appreciates productive engagement with all members of Congress." Again, you can see the order itself there on the left-hand side of your screen, very small type, but it says the Attorney General's May 18th, 2026 order establishing the Anti-Weaponization Fund, known as the fund, is rescinded and shall have no force or effect. For the avoidance of doubt, nothing in this order is intended to contradict or otherwise be contrary to prior representations by the Department of Justice that the fund is not operative. No members were appointed, no funds were transferred, no process for receiving claims was established, no
And then they even claimed that we're not going to go through with it even.
claims were paid. Nevertheless, several frivolous lawsuits have been filed challenging the fund, and at least one count has declined to dismiss those claims as moot. So again, we are getting that statement coming in from Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche. It appears
All right.
that Cornyn and Tillis are saying that
Yes, basically they're ready to advance his nomination in this, with the Senate panel. Okay, let's go ahead and get this next story. This is interesting. This crazy happening yesterday. Uber driver pulls gun, fatally shot by deputies, Florida sheriff says. Now, this is Judd Grady, as everybody knows. And yes, by the way, make sure you guys hit that like button. You don't have to like all this craziness that's happening around the world, or you know what I mean? Like, listen, man, you guys can hit that like button for me and what we do here. So I appreciate that. Or double tap the screen if you're on the vertical side. All right, here we go.
He had seen us in the area apparently, and he backed in so we couldn't see his tag number in front of the subway that we're in front of now. But the deputies found him. There were 3 deputies, and they blocked him in. When they blocked him in, they got out, and they told him to exit the vehicle several
What's up, VPS? My man, good morning. Hopefully you're enjoying your Topless Taco Tuesday so far. Definitely know that we are.
times, and of course, he refused. Then he started rolling forward. So they broke out his windshield, which was tinted very darkly. So you have a dark colored tint on this vehicle where it's difficult to see in.
Oh my God, you sound like a boomer. Listen, when I was in California, all my cars had limo. Honestly, I would have limo now on my car, but it's almost limo. And I was like, you know what? I'll just leave it.
He's got outstanding violation of probation warrants. He's backed in to hide from us.
Sterling, my man, good morning. Great to see you in the chat.
We break the window and we try to tase him. So he's rolling his vehicle forward. He's resisting us. We still try to talk to him and de-escalate and tase him.
What's up, RLM? Hopefully you're enjoying the morning as well. Good morning.
And then he rams the patrol car because he's trying to get away. Well, he can't move the patrol car. He reaches into the back seat and starts to rack a round into a 9mm handgun. It appears to be a 9mm. We've not picked it up.
Yeah, probably a Glock.
But it is a semi-automatic handgun.
Yeah, so normal
Not
pistol.
just any semi-automatic handgun.
Oh, that looks
but
like
one
I can't really tell by that picture what that is.
stolen
Like a super cheap.
from a vehicle in the city of Lakeland on the 24th of June. As he's starting to rack a round into the firearm to engage our deputies, we shot him. We shot him a lot.
We shot him a lot.
As soon as he was
Damn.
neutralized,
We didn't just neutralize him, we shot him a lot. All right, cuh.
and he dropped the gun, we pulled him from the vehicle and started life-saving measures. So let me focus here a second. You've got a guy that's reported to us as an Uber driver with an Uber sign in his window, with a stolen vehicle and a criminal history.
No, and I totally get it, Baked. I understand the argument towards it, totally. I
On
actually
probation, driving around the city. We try to peacefully take him into custody and he resists. We try to tase him after we knock the window out because he won't lower the window, and he rolls forward and then tries to ram the vehicle. After he rams the vehicle. Then he reaches into the back seat, pulls out his firearm, and
What's
is
up,
preparing
lady?
to engage us in a gunfight. We were quicker than he was. There's the quick and the dead. And the suspect's dead because
we were quick. Nice thinking there, bro.
we saw this firearm and protected ourselves. I would like to identify the deputies to you today, but there's just been a new law passed that says I can't release their names for 72 hours. The investigation is ongoing, but here's what we know. He was arrested years ago for an aggravated assault with a deadly weapon in Hillsborough County, and they allowed him to plead to a misdemeanor. And then he was arrested for a felony grand theft in Polk County, and he was allowed to plead to a misdemeanor. And then they brought him in for a drug test, and he tested positive for meth. So they did a violation of probation and put him in the jail for 39 years, modified his probation, and let him go back out onto the street. He went
What's up, Big Dan? By the way, good morning to you. And yes, exactly, guy's a nut. Fact.
back out onto the street. Probation officer calls him in for his next drug test, and I believe it was the
Yeah,
first of
Grady's
June.
great. He's funny.
And he tests, and he runs from that test. When they
He's very entertaining, you know, and sarcastic and shit.
spring
you know?
the test on him, he runs out the door, and that caused this current violation of probation. After that, he comes into possession of a firearm as a result of another burglary, another felony in Lakeland. So I ask you this license plate reader on the side of the road in a public space, only looking at tag numbers and colors of vehicles, potentially stopped you from getting in an Uber with a guy with a stolen firearm and on probation.
Yeah, that stolen firearm, by the way, looked like a little cheapy, you know, whatever. Like, you couldn't rack up $500 to get yourself a Glock.
I think that's a bad deal. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about license plate readers. They do not violate anyone's privacy. They're not in a private space. And all we do is look for bad guys and look for Alzheimer's patients that are missing and try to keep you safe. So at the end of the day, we're going to keep you safe. We're going to reduce crime, and we're going to protect ourselves. Larry Ronaldo Riles today asked to be shot, and we obliged him. These deputies didn't come to work today wanting to get into a potential gunfight, but they were trained and they were ready, and they're going to go home safe tonight. And Larry chose that. He could have given up when we blocked his vehicle in. He knew he was blocked in. He could have given up when he started rolling forward and we broke the window out. He chose to ram the vehicle. He could have given up after all of that, but what did he choose to do? He chose to get his firearm and rack it for a gunfight. And we beat him to the draw. And that's on him. So at the end of the day, here's a couple of takeaways.
Listen, man, there's times and places to pull out your firearm. And against the cops, man, that's a death wish. Pulling a firearm is just, I can't even believe people really even attempt it, to be honest. And sometimes people get away where they they stay alive and not get shot because of some weird coincidence of them missing or something, what the cops missing their shots, and then they get them into custody or whatever, and they still stay alive. But that's, you shooting at cops, the cops are not gonna stop. They're gonna keep coming.
I'm going to use license plate readers only in public spaces. If anyone that has access to this data abuses it, just like if they abuse any of our other computer data, we're going to hold them accountable. But we're also going to keep the community safe. And if you try to attack our deputies with a firearm, we're going to shoot you. We're going to shoot you a lot, but that's not our choice. That's your choice. I've told you pretty much everything we know at this early stage of the investigation, but are there any questions?
Sheriff, I can't help but notice this is a very
Real quick, Sterling says, always one in the chamber, fool. You know what's funny is everyone knows that I'm a daily carry. I always have one on me when I'm outside, whatever. And believe it or not, I don't keep one in the chamber. I'm always ready. I've trained myself to draw, rack, and pull. You know what I mean? Like in one fell swoop. It would be like almost the same exact time because I'm training it, and I've been doing that for years. But yeah, no, that's pretty funny. I'm just somebody that doesn't like one in the chamber.
People work in this store, there's customers in here, people driving around. How dangerous given how public this area is?
Well, Larry created this very dangerous situation in a public area. It was early in the morning, and there was fortunately very few people here. But we don't choose the locations of shootouts, but we respond to the locations of shootouts. And at the end of the day, he had total control. Today,
What's up, Chan with Stacks? My man, good morning. Happy Topless Taco Tuesday to you and everybody. Let's get the likes up, everyone. Hit that like button, double tap that screen if you guys are on the vertical side.
he would
Appreciate
be
it.
preparing to eat some lunch at the county jail if he'd have just given up. But he
That's
chose
true,
not to
Steve.
do that.
Yep.
But be sure one thing, that we're going to keep the community safe. And that's why I said his family says he's an Uber driver. There's a sign in the front window that clearly indicates he's an Uber driver. Uber hasn't confirmed that and probably won't without a subpoena.
Of course.
But my goodness, can you imagine? Can you imagine getting in the car with this dude, with him on violation of probation?
Yeah, that's probably I wouldn't say your average Uber driver, but I would say it's probably more common than Judd over here thinks.
In possession of a stolen handgun, probably committed a burglary, but even if he did, he's a walking felon, alleged Uber driver.
What? Why has Stacks got you blocked? Come on, man. You guys.
Yeah, we will release any store video at the conclusion of
Frank?
the investigation. There is some video from some of the stores here, but that's part of the investigation. But we don't see any surprises here. It confirms everything the three different deputies told us preliminarily.
Obviously, you walked us through this very slowly, Sheriff, but can you just explain from the deputy's perspective how quickly this happened? How fast it happened?
You know what? No. I got you perfect on that, actually. We'll go ahead and present the sandwich. You know what I mean? It's perfect.
Man, motherfuckers talk all the shit they want. But you see me, I'm sitting up here snacking on this big ass sandwich, not getting a fuck. Kiss my dick, motherfucker.
You know what I mean? Shit. All right, let's go ahead and get into this ethics panel. There's something interesting happening here. It says, ethic panel urges censor of Representative Edwards amid sexual allegations. What? What is fucking going on here?
The House Ethics Committee is recommending a censure resolution for Congressman Chuck Edwards after allegations of sexual harassment and a toxic work environment. Here's a tweet here from Bill Malhusian as this news came down with the committee releasing its report, saying, the House Ethics Committee is recommending that Representative Chuck Edwards, the Republican from North Carolina, be censured after their investigation found he created a hostile work environment for two female staffers due to sexual harassment and inappropriate behavior, including missing boats one evening to visit a female staffer's house to, quote, perform chores like yard work, decorate her Christmas tree, and pick her up and drop her off.
What a simp-ass motherfucker. What?
Bruh.
Why are you going over and decorating any woman's house? What the fuck kind of fuck shit is that?
For events and activities
What?
with his driver. The committee found that Representative Edwards showered the staffers with lavish gifts, brought them on trips, texted inappropriately, and apparently deleted text messages that the committee was unable to recover. Some specific examples of the Ethics Committee found during their investigation. Now, here's some of the documents. I know this might be hard to read, but we can go through some of it right here, and I'll read it off to you. One example, brought staffer one on political trips, including a trip to New York City, where they stayed an extra day for the congressman's birthday, for which he had planned a helicopter ride, dinner, and a Broadway show. Although Representative Edwards testified that staffer one asked to go on the trip, the committee received evidence that it was his idea for her to attend the trip and that he sought to surprise her with the personal activities during the extra day. He left early from an event attended by congressional members and staff and later told staffer one it was because she had brought a date. When asked about this, Representative Edwards testified to the committee that he told staffer one that he did not want to be in the way of something to that effect. Talked to staffer one and other staffers about going to strip clubs in Washington, D.C., invited staffer one and staffer two to private dinners in at least one instance, noting to staffer two.
Don't be upset that motherfuckers going to strip clubs and shit. You know what I mean? If these idiots want to throw money, who gives a shit?
Two, that she should not have the...
I mean, listen, I would never, I think it's a waste of money. I used to be, heavily involved in my organization and stuff like that, and used to go to clubs like that all the time. And I'd always be that one guy in the back sipping on a Coke or something like that, just to be there, because I'm not going to pay any of these bitches to do shit. Honestly, it's a waste of fucking money. I can get that shit for free. Why am I going to fucking pay for it? I got someone right now that wants to get it for for free. You know what I mean?
Schedule
It's always
puts.
been that way.
It should not have had the schedule.
This guy's
put it
like,
on his
I just
calendar.
want to spend money.
Send Staffer 1 and Staffer 2
Not
personal
me.
text late in the evening, including messages, planning, or following activities together and expressing personal sentiments. Now, if Jules, did you pull up that tweet that I had earlier? That actually has the statement from the Ethics Committee. We can go ahead and read that off as well, because I think we should probably get that out there, because this is the overall conclusion that they came to and posted on their website. So the conclusion reads this: the committee takes allegations of sexual harassment and discrimination extremely seriously. To an extent, a member's management style and office environment are not within the committee's purview, but there are limits and expectations. More than a decade ago, the committee explained that it fervently hoped that the House members, as employers, charged.
Man, this shit is just getting, this is just getting fucking out of control with this shit, isn't it?
As they are.
Look, I mean,
but
it's
the
getting
duty
to
of
this
upholding
point.
honor of this August institution would be an example for how workplaces should function professionally in the modern world. The expressions for workplace conduct have evolved since then, as have the committee's from a fervent hope to a zero tolerance demand. This report should not only hold Representative Edwards accountable for his poor judgment and unbecoming conduct, but also serve as a caution to all members that sexual harassment and discrimination will not be tolerated in the House. The committee is concerned that the House regrettably lost.
What's up, GEG? Good morning to you, by the way. Great to see you in the chat.
2 staffers because of Representative Edwards' conduct. In this environment where members of Congress hold substantial influence, many individuals are reluctant to report misconduct when balancing the fear of reprisal against the potential for accountability. The committee is committed to providing a safe and respectful place where wrongdoing can be reported and duly examined and addressed. The committee hereby adopts this report in this matter and recommends Representative Edwards be censured for his conduct. The committee further.
What kind of censor, though, when they say that? Like, what kind of censorship are you when they say that? I want to know what you mean by censor. Like, in what regard?
Recommends that the House adopt a resolution in the following form, and then they went on to show the specifics of the language for that censure resolution. Now, this is something that pretty much cannot happen until the House comes back from recess, and it looks like they're going to do this as a privileged resolution, which means that you will need a 2/3 majority of the House in order for this to pass. So we'll see how the chips fall when this eventually is brought before the House of Representatives. We should probably point out that the Ethics Committee is the only bipartisan committee in all of Congress. So this is chaired by Congressman Michael Guest in Mississippi, and then you have a ranking member, and then you have an equal number of Republicans and Democrats that sit on the Ethics Committee. So this has been a bipartisan investigation related to Congressman Chuck Edwards, the Republican from North Carolina. He has pushed back on these allegations in the past.
Damn. Yeah, this is crazy.
Statements. We've also reached out to his office and his representatives for a response to this new Ethics Committee.
And they haven't responded?
Report. When we get that, we will share it with you here at Live Now from Fox. But this is a developing story. There's still a lot of information yet to come out, and Representative Edwards has not, at least from what we've seen, responded to this Ethics Committee report. That is pretty
well, hopefully he does. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on into this next story here. 25 states sue Trump administration, and what are they suing them over? Yep, you guessed it. Fucking tariffs. All right, here we go. Let's go and see what the argument here is.
We want to take it back, though, out to Arizona. That is where we have the Arizona Attorney General Chris Mays talking about the 3rd tariff lawsuit. Arizona has joined a coalition of states filing a new lawsuit challenging the Trump administration's latest sweeping import levies on dozens of trading partners.
What's up, Dragon Classy? Good morning.
Let's listen in on Live Now.
Our eye off the ball of fighting the Mexican drug cartels. That is where the state's effort should be. That is where my office has been. I have seized more fentanyl than any other attorney general in the history of Arizona, 27 million pills. We work in tandem with the FBI, the DEA, sometimes even HSI, to target drug smugglers and human smuggling. And I think that's where our focus should be. So, and I think the sheriffs share that view, even if sometimes they're not as vocal about it. They were vocal, actually, initially about the fact that it was an unfunded mandate. Okay, yes. Yeah.
So what does this have to do with tariffs?
You're saying there's only been a couple of cases that you did not defend state laws?
One that I can think of.
Okay.
What does this have to do with fucking tariffs?
There's a candidate that said it's 30.
Yeah, I don't know where he's coming up with.
She's just gonna get into it, I guess.
I saw that and I was like, what the hell is he talking about? One that I can think of, Josh.
What's up, sick bastard?
There was
Good
an
morning.
abortion, maybe the 2 abortion cases.
Wasn't there something in terms of sex discrimination also? I think there's more than one or two out there.
No, we'll look at it.
Exercise.
We'll beg to differ on that. And it may depend on sort of what are you talking about in terms of, what the office did. But yeah, there were a couple of abortion related cases. Yeah. Dennis?
I want to get back to ongoing legal drama between you and our governor. Obviously, you've been investigating her for quite a while. You've asked for her to come in and sit for an interview. That hasn't happened for months. So I've got a question kind of two parts. Why have you let the governor just essentially blow you off on this? And can anybody blow off the attorney general?
I'm interested.
If they want to talk.
The answer is no. You cannot blow off the attorney general's office. So full stop, no one can, regardless of who they are. Well, I would disagree with that characterization.
So what you hear is her mic is pretty, high up there, and she's got that podium, and she's kind of tapping on the podium, and that's what you hear.
And though I can't discuss details, what I would say is we are going to get the information that we need, and though I don't have any specific updates on
She's the attorney general for Arizona
case. When we have a result in this investigation, we will make an announcement.
Her name is Chris Mays,
and we are near the end of the investigation.
Follow up to that though, should we expect to see something before the November?
Yeah, no kidding, Virginia Chaos.
Okay. Are you prepared to issue something without talking to the governor?
Again, I'm not going to talk about the specifics of.
Real quick, I just got to give a big special shout out, and I'm not going to say your full name here, but we got Debbie coming in with the Happy Tuesday with the prayer heart and the blue heart for $3. I appreciate that on the Cash App because it goes straight to me, right? Appreciate that very much.
The investigation.
Debbie.
There's some politics to this too, because there's a significant amount of money Democratic Party being run out of Navajo County that is controlled, my understanding.
You too, Dragon Classy.
Something like this could cost you funds in your reelection.
Well, your characterization of that is incorrect. Well, for two things. You misunderstand the mechanics of it, but I don't talk about the campaign in this office. I know you guys want to talk about the campaign. We can talk about that outside where it's 115 degrees, or you can call DJ and Delaney. But so I don't want to mix the office and the sanctity of this building with campaign related questions.
So you can say for sure if.
And I would remind you guys that there is another investigation.
Okay, so let me go ahead and see if she does speak on anything, because she's obviously answering questions right now. So I'm sure it's going to get on to the question or the topic of 25 states are suing the Trump administration over the latest rounds of tariffs. So
I feel confident that we're going to get the information.
And if you do, what is your recommendation?
So what I would say, if there are specific instances of sextortion that folks are aware of or are experiencing, we want them to report that to the Attorney General.
Okay, so yeah, she's just covering Attorney General business questions.
Sextortion against another person. If you do it, we will come after you. We have an entire unit, like romance scams, a lot of for people for how to avoid being extorted. That anything that you send to someone, not just sextortion, but also other criminals to get cell phone numbers. And then sometimes people
I wonder why they played her like that the entire time when it really didn't. So this is, let me read this so we actually get the backstory on this. So you guys can read along with me. Actually, I'll go ahead and blow this up so you can read along. All right, let's figure out what the fuck is going on here, because I'd like to figure out what we just watched. 25 states sued the Trump administration Monday, arguing its latest tariffs illegally replaced import duties the Supreme Court struck down in February. Arizona Attorney General Chris Mays joined attorney generals from New York, California, and 22 other states in challenging the new tariffs in federal court. The new lawsuit follows two other lawsuits filed in July by small businesses that also challenged the tariffs. The Trump administration announced the tariffs late last month under an authority grant granted to the president to impose taxes and sanctions to fight unfair trade practices. The White House accused the affected countries, which make 99% of the goods the U.S. imports, of not doing enough to curb forced labor. The tariffs will range from 10% to 12.5% and applied to 60 trading partners, the White House explained. Those nations account for 99% of U.S. imports. Canada, the European Union, Mexico, and Taiwan are among the countries facing 10% tariffs, while China, Japan, South Korea, and multiple other nations are being hit with the higher 12.5% tariff. The Supreme Court ruled earlier this year that Section 301 of the Trade Act of 1974 does not give the president the authority to impose tariffs. Now Trump is trying to use Section 301 to roll out his latest rounds of tariffs. Okay, so this woman, she just is basically the leader of this challenge, where 25 states are getting together and suing. She's kind of like the head person doing it and filing it and doing all that shit, whatever. Okay, so let's go and get into this next story. Unfortunately, I wanted to hear more from her. In particular, I wanted to know more about that whole thing, but she didn't get into it as far as I could tell. Anyways, we have to put our focus into, we haven't done it yet, the Middle East. So we have another ship attacked in the Strait of Hormuz. Unfortunately, this did happen. Let me go ahead and show you guys the thumbnail. That's exactly why we built it the way that we did this morning. All right, so let's go ahead and bring this up, and we'll go ahead and start discussing it here.
We're following some breaking news out of the Middle East as another
shit, real quick before I play it, I'm super sorry I was going too fast. We got my man Virginia Chaos coming in on the Cash App, and he says for $2, he goes, last $2 you can have, Mike. $15 still on hold. Well, hey, my man, I very much appreciate you making it rain in the Cash App. Always appreciate you, my man. It's always a pleasure. Appreciate it.
Has been attacked in the Strait of Hormuz. This comes just days after President Trump halted a major strike, major escalation on Iran. This coming in from Lucas Tomlinson, our Fox News team, talking about another ship has been attacked in the Strait of Hormuz, as this warning coming in, talking about a cargo vessel has broadcasted that they have been hit by an unknown projectile. Authorities are investigating, as vessels are advised to transit with caution and report any suspicious activity. So no word on the origin of that unknown projectile or what's going on, but this is cause for concern, as President Trump today said it was the last chance for Iran to forge a deal and avoid escalation of U.S. strikes on the country. President Trump in the Oval Office said he expects negotiations will focus on reopening of the strait and also creating a pathway for Iran to address the United States' concerns about its nuclear program. So President Trump talking earlier today, saying he wants to give Iran every last chance before decapitation. He says that the U.S. is talking right now with Iran after postponing that massive attack over the weekend. The chief executive also says he wants the Strait of Hormuz to open Tuesday, but he will not allow Iran to charge a toll. So some major developments out of the Middle East. Again, a live picture right now in Washington, D.C. at the White House here on Live Now from Fox. So following it very closely here on Live Now from Fox, let's take you out right now to what we know from Lucas Tomlinson here just a little bit earlier on Live Now from Fox.
Waiting.
Deal to reopen the.
Nope. Here we go.
I want to give them every last chance before decapitation. With no deal to reopen the Strait of Hormuz or to formally scrap Iran's nuclear program and another attack on a ship in the strait, President Trump says U.S. forces were ready to launch another wave of airstrikes on Iran over the weekend.
We're going to hit them very hard yesterday, very, very hard, harder than any attack. I think I can say, General, from a point of knowledge, any attack since World War II. We're talking about the strait, the opening of the strait, having it open literally by...
Well, I'll tell you why. Because, Albert, so no matter where you put the, unfortunately, the region can be threatened, whether it be right there at the strait, or if it's just down the way, it could be over there by the Houthis. It could be there over there by going through Saudi Arabia. It doesn't matter. It's all within, the IRGC's ability to hit it, you know what I mean? Unfortunately. And then it will still then fuck up traffic. The best thing that I think that we can do is the pipeline that they're currently building right now. Once that pipeline happens, they'll be able to bypass the Strait of Hormuz pretty much entirely.
Tomorrow, completely open. And that's phase one. And phase two is we'll talk about the nuclear capacity.
It's not the first time U.S. forces have been ready to launch, but then told to stand down.
This is at least the 5th time you've turned off airstrikes against Iran since April to negotiate. What is your message to the American people who are wondering what has changed this time?
I'm very proud of the fact that I'll give people a chance. This is a big move. To do an attack that big on a country, I'd rather not do it.
Some Republicans are skeptical.
Yeah, that's some BS, isn't it, Fidel? We got to get the likes up, everybody, man. Let's get the likes up. I put a lot of hard work and research into all of these things that we do here, so I appreciate you guys.
I know he's given diplomacy a chance. Do I believe it's going to work? Probably not.
Trump also turning his ire on the oil business, saying they have made too much money during the conflict with Iran.
I should be the last one to say, because I'm a big free enterprise guy. They ought to give some of that back to the public, and they better cut the retail price.
What's up, Moto? Good morning, by the way.
The consumer price. Too much money. You're surprised I'm saying it? I'll say it loud and clear. I'm not happy about it.
President Trump says the blockade on Iranian ports will remain and will not be lifted until there's a deal or, quote, total surrender. At the White House, Lucas Tomlinson, Fox News.
All right, thank you so much for that. President Trump saying this is the last chance for Iran to come to the table to let diplomacy play out. So the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz and nuclear program for Tehran, those are the two main sticking points that were.
Now, we do have an update on this whole thing, so I'm going to go ahead and cut him off short there because we do have a couple of stories in a chronological timeline of time frame of when it happened. We got 2 stories we got to do, and then we've got an update on that vessel that was struck in the Strait of Hormuz. So let's go ahead and bring up this whole different story real quick, and then we'll come back to that topic. So cyclosporia is the explosive diarrhea BS shit that people were getting with the lettuce. So that's what it's actually called. So it's cyclosporia outbreak. First deaths confirmed. Michigan cases top 11,000. So it says the number of reported cases continue to climb, surpassing 11,000 as health officials monitor the spread. And then it also says here for lettuce, it tells you like purchase whole heads, buy whole head lettuce rather than pre-washed bagged lettuce or pre-mixed salad kits. So it's an ordeal, man. Let's go ahead and play this.
Our attention to Michigan.
Oh, you know what? We haven't done yet. Shit, we're actually almost into overtime. So let's just go ahead and do it now. You know what they say? No tax on tips, no tax on overtime. Send in your freaking money.
All right, just get the money part done.
Give me money. Money me. Money now. Me a money needing a lot now.
Now that's actual factuals, ladies and gentlemen. All right, here we go. Appreciate it.
The nationwide cyclospora outbreak has turned deadly. At least 2 people have died. And while the illness is typically not fatal, health officials say the 2 immunocompromised patients got even sicker after catching the foodborne parasite. For more on this, let's go on to Fox's Caroline Elliott with the latest.
The infamous explosive diarrhea parasite has now turned deadly in Michigan after the state reported the first 2 deaths linked to the outbreak.
There are hospitalizations, and definitely the immunocompromised or individuals that have some really bad reactions to that.
According to the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, both patients had, quote, significant underlying health conditions and died after getting the foodborne illness.
When someone is ill, they should, after a couple of days of experiencing, the watery diarrhea, and if it doesn't go away, they should definitely seek medical attention.
Michigan is the hardest hit among the 45 states reporting cases, with more than 11,000 total. And as of late,
God damn, just in the state of Michigan? Holy shit.
July, nearly 200 hospitalizations. Federal health officials linked the outbreak to lettuce imported from Mexico that served at Taco Bell locations around the country. And since then, some producers have seen more consumers buying local.
People have really come out of the woodwork and want to know where their food is coming from.
And Michigan health officials won't be releasing any more information publicly on the 2 fatal cases, but added that death from the parasite is highly uncommon in the U.S. and New York. Caroline Elliott, Fox News.
All right, thank you so much for that. This come from Herb Scribner saying, new as...
Yo, extra surprise, by the way, comes in with the 10 jewels. Appreciate that, by the way. Making it rain in the chat.
Cyclospora, the outbreak causes the first 2 deaths this coming in Michigan as over 10,000 cases have been reported. Let's be joined right now by that reporter from Axios, Herb Scribner. Thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. And this generally isn't a very fatal disease. It's not life-threatening in that way. How concerning is it for health officials that these 2 individuals passed away?
What's up, Gary? My man, good morning. Great to see you in the chat, by the way.
Yeah, it's, thanks for having me. Yeah, it's definitely concerning for a lot of reasons. I mean, we're seeing thousands of cases.
I got a question for him, though.
Why are you gay?
Just asking, you know what I mean?
You are gay.
Every week, we don't even know the full amount of cases at this point. Like, it just keeps climbing. Not everything's getting reported. And now you're seeing fatalities. When this hit today, it was kind of like a major moment because this isn't usually a disease that, an illness that causes death. It's not really, like, that's just not usually a concern for health officials. I think
what I'm sure of, if it's directly related to just shitting nonstop, it probably has to be related. If I had to like speculate, I would assume that it would be something like they're dehydrated, you know what I mean, or something like that, So
the way that it's being approached, though, is kind of like, they had the people who died had underlying health conditions, and
that too, underlying health
related
conditions.
to dehydration, it sounds like, which is also a major concern that a lot of experts have.
I just guessed that, dehydration.
Do we know anything more about those underlying health conditions? Because they said both patients, they had potentially conditions. Do we know what or how much that might have impacted how they handled this?
I haven't seen anything yet.
Hey, Sterling, I'm right there with you, homie. Del Taco's never let me down. That's a fact.
On that aspect, I just know the dehydration. I've spoken to a lot of experts over the last few weeks who they keep reiterating, stay hydrated, get as hydrated as you can, because that's like the long-term problem. We talk about symptoms with this, and I know the headline is always watery diarrhea, explosive diarrhea, but there's things like nausea, fatigue,
I'm sure,
gas, so to speak, and then obviously dehydration is the big one that's affecting a lot of people. So it's always those extra symptoms that you don't normally think about that are going to be really problematic for people.
And we do know that there's information out there that this outbreak likely stemmed from lettuce coming from Mexico that was sold at Taco Bells across different states. Obviously, the epicenter really Michigan for this outbreak. Do we have a definitive answer, though, exactly where this started, where it came from?
I would say it's hard to say it's definitive. I think there's a lot of the arrows are pointing at Taylor Farms, and like you said, the Taylor Farms lettuce that's sold in grocery stores and marketplaces, and then obviously Taco Bell, that being the main thing. I just think it's interesting that like there was a recall on those iceberg lettuces, those mixed greens. Like there was already a recall being made, and we're still seeing thousands of cases almost a month later. And obviously, it takes time for everything to get out of the supply chain. It takes time for people to not eat those foods anymore. Like if you have a bag of lettuce, maybe it's still good in your fridge, although by now I'd question that. But yeah, I think there's just, we don't have a primary source in that way.
Yo, Bizquick coming in with the 2 joules, by the way. Appreciate that. Shit. Hell yeah.
I think there's been a lot of muddied water when it comes to that. And so, yeah, I think we're still in the early stages of trying to figure that out and finding a way to keep people safe and get them, not to eat the things that are contaminating them.
You mentioned the recall, and this has been in the news cycle, Cyclospora, for quite some time. Why exactly is it hard for health officials to pinpoint where this came from?
Well, it shouldn't be.
Yeah, it just, I think like this is an interesting case because there's a lot of cases coming out of Michigan, which is why it's being zeroed in on. But you see cases also spread out among the
New
Great
York,
Plains and the Midwest,
and through. I think it looked like even Illinois and all that, whatever. Midwest for sure. Anyways, or I mean, actually, kind of like the I guess everyone calls it the Midwest, but anyways, center of the country. We got Washington wildfire update. Police confirm arrest in connection to possible arson. Oh, no. Motherfucker. Listen, man, I don't understand why people got to start fires on purpose like that. It's just people are fucked up, man. Sick people.
Thank you for coming here this evening. We have some news. I have some news about the arrest of a suspect in the start of the Old Trails fire that started on August 1st at about 10 a.m. I am joined by our prosecuting attorney, Preston McCollum, and Chief Dave Ellis of the Spokane Valley Police and Undersheriff here with the Sheriff's Office. I'm going to share some information with you. About 5 p.m. this afternoon, we executed an arrest warrant and search warrant in the city of Spokane, and we took 37-year-old Aaron Farnacci, a convicted felon, into custody on a single charge of arson in the first degree. About 3 o'clock this afternoon, an arrest warrant affidavit and a search warrant affidavit were presented to Judge Zamblin. She signed the arrest warrant and set a $1 million bond on Mr. Farnacci. Mr. Farnacci is currently in custody and being interviewed by
$1 million bond
detectives from our major crimes unit here in the Spokane County Sheriff's Office. This investigation began at the beginning of the fire on August 1st. Thankfully, we had some very aware and alert citizens. They were driving into the area where the fire started near Euclid and trying to remember the name of the street. Euclid, yeah, Old Trail in Euclid. The witness, a citizen, very good citizen, noticed a male standing on the side of the road looking into the trees as he was going to pick somebody up. About 10 minutes later, as he was coming back through the area, he noticed the male was bending down near some grass. At that point, the male stood up and looked very nervous, according to our citizen witness. At that point, the male walked away. The citizen returned to their house. A short time later, after being at home, they saw smoke coming from what they believed was the area that they had seen the male bending down by the side of the road. The witnesses there did a fantastic job of returning to the scene. They contacted an Airway Heights police officer, gave that police officer a description of the suspect, including a physical description and a clothing description. That description was broadcast to units in the area. And be mindful, at the time, this was a very active, very early stages of the fire. So officers and deputies in the area were focusing on getting people out of the area to protect life as a first priority.
Yeah, they said 60,000 people were evacuated.
Mr. Farnacci was contacted in the area about 1.5 miles from where the fire started and was detained, questioned, and ultimately released after being identified by our citizen witness. Mind you that a lot of the details that have come to light during the investigation were not known to the deputies who detained Mr. Farnacci that day. But because of body-worn camera evidence and reports, when major crimes detectives started investigating that early yesterday, they were able to identify him, and working with investigators from the Department of Natural Resources and major crimes detectives in Spokane County, they were able to identify him, develop probable cause, and determine that the origin of the fire was indeed exactly where the witnesses had seen Mr. Farnacci kneeling in the grass earlier that day. Our detectives worked with our prosecutor, Preston McCollum, this morning to make sure that we had a very solid case to present to a judge today. And again, as I said, the judge signed the warrant at 3 p.m. and we had him in custody at 5 p.m. with the assistance of our SWAT team's warrant assistance group. This was fantastic and very quick work by everybody involved. As it happens in so many critical cases, it was citizens who were paying attention to their surroundings, being aware and willing to step up and say something that led to the relatively quick apprehension of Mr. Farnacci. Mr. Farnacci is a convicted felon out of the state of Arizona.
No, you wouldn't say.
He has a felony conviction for manslaughter and a preceding arrest in the same case in premeditated murder in the state of Arizona.
Damn.
I will say that we had a lot of
motherfucking trouble
cooperation from fire investigators and other people involved in this case, and we will make sure that he is. This investigation as it goes forward, and by the way, it is a continuing and ongoing investigation. We will be looking into any other crimes Mr. Farnacci may have committed in the past. We will also be looking into other charges that may come about as the facts and circumstances of the Old Trail fire come to light and come to be known. Just know that this charge is what we have probable cause for right now. It is a serious charge. It is significant, but these charges may change as the investigation goes on.
Of course. I mean, as shit comes out, they're of course going to, pivot. Anyways, vessel struck in Strait of Hormuz as Iran demands control before talks with the U.S. And they're talking about the strait. So let's go ahead and bring this up. This is the latest update we've got on this whole thing, coming out 4 hours ago.
Let's start with the developments in the Middle East and specifically in the Strait of Hormuz. Taking a look at a social media post here, courtesy of Reuters, it says conflicting signals from the United States and Iran over the status of talks to end their 5-month-old war boosted uncertainty, with the latest attack on shipping in the Strait of Hormuz highlighting risks to global energy flows. Let's take a live look at the strait, courtesy of Marine Traffic. And just for some more context here, the green dots you see on your screen are cargo vessels. The red dots are...
Yeah, so like container ships, and then you got your oil and gas and all of that are on these tankers, which are red.
Tanker vessels. Let's talk about cargo vessels for a little bit, though, because the Associated Press is reporting that a British maritime monitoring agency said a cargo ship reported being hit by a projectile overnight off the coast of Oman in the Strait of Hormuz, while the United States and Iran made opposing claims about whether they were holding talks. President Trump on Monday said the two sides were resuming talks to wind down the war, but Iran insisted it has only been talking with Oman and the discussion was focused on the Strait of Hormuz. There's a lot to get to here in terms of what's happening there at the Strait, but also where these talks go from here. So joining us next to dive into all of this is Rocky Whites. He is a professor of maritime studies at the Fletcher School at Tufts University. Rocky, good morning.
Actually, I remember, listening to this guy on certain maritime aspects, and I also came from the maritime industry, and from the handful of times that he's been even on my show here with us, he's done phenomenal.
Good morning.
It's good to see you. All right, let's dive right into this. I want to take a look at another social media post here. This one is courtesy of a reporter with the New York Times. It says that Iran and Oman are near finalizing an agreement over the Strait of Hormuz. It may open the flow of ships, but would cement Iran's control over the critical waterway, leverage it did not have before the war. This is pretty big news and some big reporting from the New York Times. Rocky, what do we know about this possible finalization of an agreement between Iran and Oman, especially given the fact that President Trump says that the U.S. is also, trying to work within this entire picture?
Yeah, it's a good question. So there have been these conversations between Iran and Oman over some kind of arrangement over the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. has been consistently against this concept of Iranian control over the strait. And so have many of the trading nations, including European countries, but also Asian countries that rely on the strait. So, we will see what happens. I think that there may be, some kind of face-saving way where they could charge some low-level service fees for environmental protection, or some kind of.
Would I do it? Yeah, I would do it. But would I do it right this second? No. You know what I mean? I would choose my timing a little bit better.
So some straits allow, some straits do charge those fees, like the Turkish straits, but it would be a new development, and it would undermine freedom of navigation, and having this be what it was before the war, which is an international strait where freedom of navigation went through and ships were able to go through without any kind of arrangements with either the Omanis or the Iranians. So I think it's still too early to tell what exactly that means, but these conversations have been happening for months between Oman and Iran.
So what are we knowing about Oman? Like, we know that Iran very outspoken about what they want within the Strait of Hormuz. Oman being a country that's a bit more neutral, they just don't want this to escalate even further. Let's first talk about maybe the talks that Oman might be having with the U.S.
And so this is a bad position for the United States, because Oman is kind of doing like this double play with us right now. Yes, they are having and are working with us, but they're also talking out of both sides of their mouth. They're also negotiating some sort of deal over the strait directly, and that's a problem for the United States. Because what's going to end up happening is both of them are going to agree to toll, and they'll split, revenue, I'm sure. And that's pretty much it. Like, they're going to end up getting that if the United States is not involved in that, where these straits need to be, they're international waterways. They're toll-free, bitch. You know what I mean?
Focused on coming up with this deal.
It's a problem now. It's a big problem. Obviously, we've been discussing it since before this war has even started. And of course, all the way through until this second.
And just keeping it centered around that region.
So Oman has been an important intermediary during this war, trying to help bridge the divide between the United States and Iran. So I think that they do play an important role. There's no question that they would like to see this conflict kind of wrap up, because it's been very bad for the entire region's economy. And so Oman is not alone in that. It's a member of the Gulf Cooperation Council countries, and all of them, I do think, are ready to move forward. I think the U.S. also wants to move forward. And what we're seeing is that in Iran, they're really divided. So there's different factions within the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. And many of those do not want to have the war end, or they're willing to let it prolong until they kind of get what they want. And many of them want some kind of arrangement over the Strait of Hormuz. So I think that's where.
And when they say arrangement, they mean, how do they monetize it? Because now this gave them the excuse to do it.
Oman's trying to probably explore what could be agreed upon with the Iranians that would still be acceptable to the United States and other trading nations.
We've been talking a lot throughout the last several months as these negotiations and kind of the, conflicting stances with operations at the Strait. It may involve possibly charging a fee, a toll. I'm bringing up this social media post courtesy of Fox News. President Trump was in the Oval Office yesterday taking some questions from reporters. It says President Trump dismisses concerns about potential Iranian tolls in the Strait of Hormuz, assuring that the U.S. maintains total naval dominance in the region, adding, quote, "If anybody is going to charge, we'll charge. We have total control. We have a thing called a blockade with his Navy, and that Navy they call it a wall of steel." Rocky, as someone who's been following, all of the navigation and kind of the passageways there at the Strait, who has total control at the moment of the Strait of Hormuz, or who has?
That would be essentially the IRGC right now. I mean, if we don't have traffic going in and out like how we've always had, they have control, obviously.
There's more control.
Yeah. So I think, unfortunately, kind of no single player has full control over the strait right now. So the Iranians have geography on their side, so they're able to.
I would say that it's fucked for everybody, because the IRGC is losing a lot of money because of our blockade that we also have, which is, so it's just all the way around. Everyone loses. It's a problem, and just like I've told you guys from the very beginning, unfortunately, I don't see a good exit strategy for us. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, it's going to be a lose-lose situation for everybody.
Launch these low-cost drones at commercial vessels. Commercial vessels move pretty slowly, and they're really large. So they'll be moving at, say, 15 miles per hour, but they're 3 football fields long. So they're vulnerable to these attacks, and the Iranians can launch those because they have the mountains on the northern side of the strait that enable them to do that. The U.S. definitely has the strongest sort of conventional military there, and the Iranian conventional navy is essentially gone. But they're using what are called asymmetric attacks to especially attack commercial shipping. Now, the good news is we have seen even through this recent period of tensions, oil still keeps going through the Strait of Hormuz, either through the Iranian passage with sort of their approval, and as long as it's not doesn't violate the blockade the U.S. is doing, the U.S. lets those continue. And then on the Omani side, it's really usually quite clandestine, so they kind of go in secret and pass through. And many credible estimates are that about 5 million barrels per day are passing through the strait even right now during these tensions. That's down obviously from the 20 million barrels a day that was before the war, but that's still some is going through, and that's helping the oil prices not spiral out of control.
Which is actually a good thing that is happening, the way that that's being handled, for sure.
And we're going to talk a little bit about
it's kind of the best situation in a very fucked up situation.
Traffic there, because Marine Traffic, who offers this live look that we have at the Strait of Hormuz, they kind of break it down, every couple of days or so, talking about how many vessels get through. Before we get to that, though, the focus has been throughout this conversation, Iran, Oman, and the U.S. Other countries, though, as you have pointed out, are involved as to what happens there at the Strait, because a lot of people are affected when there is disruptions there. Al Jazeera is saying this, that Iraq's oil minister said talks are underway with Iran on, quote, the smooth flow of oil tankers through the Strait of Hormuz, according to the state-run Iraqi news agency. What kind of involvement do these other countries have, other Gulf nations, and how much are those talks weighed in compared to maybe what Iran and Oman are trying to come up with, and also with the U.S. in the mix?
Yeah, so we're kind of reaching a point where a lot of these Gulf oil producers really need to get their oil out. They need it for their own sort of fiscal.
So real quick, I looked it up because it spiked my interest. So I asked, how many ships go through the Strait of Hormuz in the last 2 weeks? How many have basically gone through this strait? And what it's showing me, and I'm going to give you guys the actual numbers here. So total ship traffic through the Strait of Hormuz over the past 2 weeks, the best current estimate is approximately 180 to 250 commercial vessels or vessel transits over the last 14 days. That's coming out from Reuters, by the way. That works out to roughly 13 to 18 ships per day on average. Traffic has fluctuated significantly depending on security conditions and reported attacks. That's also coming out from Reuters. So it says before the current crisis, about 100 ships per day routinely transited the Strait of Hormuz. So roughly 1,400 ships over a 2-week period. So 1,400 would be the normal, what it was before the war, and we're at 180 to 250 right now in the last 2 weeks. All right, so here we go.
State domestically, and so they're looking to try to find a way through this very complicated negotiation. Where the good news is that the U.S. according to our policy right now with the blockade, Iraqi oil tankers going past Iran and sailing to say Asian nations that need that oil.
We definitely, all of our military assets are still in the region, still in the same area.
They wouldn't violate the blockade, and if the Iranians let them through, they would go through. So I think what you see here is that the Iraqis see sort of a path through where they can start exporting their oil kind of with the permission of the Iranian.
And also, one thing I should have clarified, was what I should have addressed while I brought this up, is also it's a little bit harder than people think, Sterling, because the missile sites or the actual systems that they use to launch their missiles, they're on wheels. And so they hide them underground. And then as soon as they are getting ready to, attack, they bring them out and they wheel them out from underground or wherever they got them hidden. And then they fire them off and then they put them down and then go wheel them back in, and so you have to kind of catch them. And it's a lot of work. Obviously they got thousands and thousands of those fucking launchers. So anyways,
with some kind of arrangement that they make, but also not with some arrangement with the Americans as well, and the Omanis. And so I think that what we're seeing here is that as this conflict continues to just prolong, certainly longer than I expected, that these countries are trying to find a way where they can meet the global oil demand. And
shit, my man Family Life in the chat just sent in $10, my man, on the Cash App saying left-handed tobacco. Yes, sir. We're getting down with that, so absolutely.
Also,
cheers
export
to you,
their
kind
goods,
sir.
which is so important for those Gulf economies.
It's interesting, Rocky, because I had you on here months ago when this first started, and we were kind of thinking, how much longer is this going to last? And there were, thoughts that, maybe by the end of this week, this will be resolved. And yet, we're heading into August now. So we're in August, excuse me. It's been a while. And still the back and forth continues with many sides in the mix. It's not just the UN and Iran at this point. Okay, let's go back to what you were saying earlier, talking a little bit about some of the vessels that have gotten through. Marine traffic, like I had mentioned, I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's quite lengthy, but they say this, they posted this a few hours ago. Choke point traffic remains uneven. Marine traffic data shows 39 combined crossings through the Strait of Hormuz and Bab el-Mandeb on the 2nd of August as traffic.
So they're saying 39 combined crossings. And I think they're talking about in just one day with the Strait of Hormuz and the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, which is over there by the Yemen Houthi rebels, down there by Yemen, obviously. So they're doing a combined total for a day.
Patterns across the two corridors continue to diverge. Hormuz recorded 9 transits compared with 23 on the 31st of July and 11 on August 1st. Talk to me about, why all of these numbers are just kind of so far apart. I mean, we're talking 11 August 1st, 23 on July 31st. On August 2nd, we had 39 combined. I mean, what does this tell us about how contentious that region is right now based off of, first of all, what we're hearing from leaders in the U.S. and Iran and what's actually being conducted there at the Strait?
Yeah, so I'll give a little context here. So the Bab el-Mandeb is the outlet from the Red Sea into the Indian Ocean.
Correct.
And that's currently being contested by the Yemeni group called the Houthis, which are Iran.
That's exactly why I said the Yemen Houthi rebels. Let me go ahead and switch over to this tab real quick. So obviously, just for anybody that is new here or whatever, I bring this map up all the time, but just to show geographically what we're looking at here. So of course, this is Strait of Hormuz. And then down here, this is the Al-Mandab Strait by Yemen. So it's a little tiny choke point, but check it out. That shipping, this is a huge shipping route that goes all the way up into Europe. And so this is a humongous artery to Europe as a whole. So this is a very vital strait, just like how the Strait of Hormuz is a very vital strait. So both of these are being threatened right now because I was surprised how long the Yemen Houthi rebels kind of waited to kind of get involved. But what ended up happening is Saudi Arabia actually attacked the Yemen Houthi rebels and actually hit their airport, and their whole tarmac got fucked up. And so the way that the Yemen Houthi rebels started responding is they're like, okay, well, what we're going to do is we're going to do a naval blockade right here on the strait for just Saudi Arabia alone. So any Saudi ships or anything going in and out for Saudi Arabia, they're not going through. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where this whole thing is. I mean, it's just the whole region is on fire right now, and it's all a house of cards right now. So that's why we're watching closely.
Affiliated. And they've essentially declared a blockade against Saudi Arabia. Though some countries are able to, they're really trying to. They seem to be attacking Saudi flagged ships, but there have been some Asian countries have been able to go through with Saudi oil, but on their own flags and pass through without any disruptions by the Houthis. So those two straits combined are the primary maritime exporting routes of crude oil from the Middle East to Asia and the rest of the world. And so what we're seeing there is this up and down with both of those being contested. And this is a troubling sign for oil markets. So far, the oil markets have managed to adjust with the combination of increased production in the Americas, whether it's Venezuela, Guyana, or the United States, but then also the release of oil reserves globally and China withholding.
Right, and which is very true. And real quick, so what he was talking about, the traffic there, I'm going to go ahead and share this real quick because we were just on the topic of it. So this is marine traffic, right? And I don't know why it's all messed up here on the bottom. Let me see if I refresh if it'll fix it. No, this is fucked up, but whatever. Anyways, so this is the Strait of Hormuz again. The white part is the ocean, okay? The water. So this, you guys can see there's nothing going in and out right now of this. I mean, if there's any traffic, it's one at a time kind of thing. Now, this is the Al Mandab Strait we were just talking about. Now, you guys can see this is normal traffic flow that we kind of see normally. But again, remember this blockade is only for Saudi ships or from anything going in and out for Saudi Arabia. So there's the blockade on that. But aside from that, it's open. But it's still under threat by the Yemen Houthi rebels every day. I mean, it's always going to be a leverage because they just watched their big brother, Iran, bully the strait and now can control it to an extent. And they can as well. And so that's unfortunate.
Some of its imports using its reserves instead. And that has kept prices where they are. I checked this morning. They're at $81 this morning. That's still higher than
let's
before
get the likes
war,
up.
but it's not as high as it was at the height.
What's up, Robert, by the way? Good morning. Happy Topless Taco Tuesday to you. Let's get the likes up, everybody. Double tap the screen if you guys are on the vertical side. Appreciate it.
Of the conflict. So, but what that shows is essentially there's still a lot of risk for shipping in both of these different straits. And I think that's essentially what the status quo has been since the MOU collapsed. And that's really not good for commercial shipping. Commercial ships are usually unarmed. They're, like I mentioned earlier, they move pretty slowly and they're large targets. So, the shipping industry, who I've had a lot of conversations with over the last few months, they're really looking to see some kind of stable arrangement come to bear because they really don't like this uncertainty. But they are, because of the market demands and the incentives, they are making passage, but they're doing it kind of as in the lowest risk way possible. So either with permission from either the Houthis or the Iranians, or doing it kind of secretly with their transponders off and then appearing on the other side.
All right, Rocky, I do want to bring it back to the main point of the conversation here, which is what possibly could come next there at the Strait, given some conflicting messaging that we're getting from all of these parties involved. I'm going to take us to a social media post courtesy of the Institute for the Study of War. They did an analysis there. They're following the developments. And they say that a key takeaway is that an arrangement in which Iran controls inbound traffic in the Strait of Hormuz would still enable Iran to control which vessels can enter the Persian Gulf and thus continue to undermine the United States' interest as well as global commerce. Rocky, I've said it before many times. It seems that we're at an impasse here when it comes to who's going to control the Strait of Hormuz. So what are your final thoughts here as you're watching all of this unfold? You see how it's been...
I'll give him his final thoughts on that.
Dragging on. You see that we're getting to a point where, I mean, each side is kind of digging their heels and saying no to whatever the other side wants. I mean, where do we go from here?
Yeah, it's called an impasse.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I do have one final thought. So I do...
A stalemate.
Think that at this point, there is probably an opportunity for the Trump administration to do a reset on the messaging and make this actually all about freedom of navigation. Freedom of navigation is something that most of the world agrees upon.
Yes, of course, but that's why he is doing exactly what he's doing with the Strait, and so he's already doing that.
One of the strongest tenets in international maritime law and international law in general, and it's very clear that by attacking innocent commercial ships going through the Strait of Hormuz, the Iranians are violating freedom of navigation. And I think that the fact that the Houthis are doing something similar in the Bab el-Mandeb, what might be an opportunity is that the U.S. can focus other allied trading nations, whether they're NATO countries or Asian countries, and try to build a maritime coalition that helps first secure the Red Sea and the Bab el-Mandeb. And then if that works with a larger maritime coalition,
it always boils down to force.
Then bring that coalition up to secure the Omani Channel. I think that is
force and a threat.
It's an opportunity that the administration can explore this month to try to bring more naval forces to bear so that it's not all just on the U.S. Navy, but also all these allied navies, because essentially everybody loses with these commercial shipping disruptions, which is why.
And so does Iran. They lose out on like $400 million a day because of our naval blockade against their Iranian ports.
Freedom of navigation has always enjoyed this wide support globally, and so all countries that believe in freedom of navigation could be called upon, and I think you could even get a UN resolution against the Houthis, and that would then enable other countries to come in that require that before they could join a maritime coalition. So that's my final thought. I hope it helps.
It always
all right.
Does help. Rocky,
look at that. That's when they smoked that tower, the smokestack up there. Well, it was going into the engine.
Professor of Maritime Studies at the.
Yeah, it was radical. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I can't thank each and every single one of you guys enough for allowing me to do this Monday through Friday, and of course, members only on Saturday morning. Big special shout out to the members that make this happen legitimately. Thank you guys for believing in me and what we're doing here. And listen, we'll be back here tomorrow morning for more of the World's Madness. Until then, God bless you guys. Be safe out there. Much love, honor, respect, and God bless.
From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges, a host with a fire burning in his soul, with a heart of steel and a spirit unbroken. He rides on two wheels, ready to claim his throne. Amidst the chaos and the thunderous roar,